Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our setting stream. I'm Malrog, and that's Tallcat.
I'm Tallcat.
A
Hello.
little bit about me. I've been setting puzzles since about 2021, and I constantly have imposter syndrome. So everyone else out there who feels the same, this is for you. You can do it if I can. So I like puzzles of all sorts, not just Sudoku, but today we're going to be looking at setting a Sudoku to celebrate our birthday, which is on the 25th of April. So we're going to try and make a puzzle themed around that concept. Tallcat, do you want to say a bit about who you are and what you
Absolutely.
do in puzzles?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm sure many of you see me around various streams, Ada streams and such. I too have been setting puzzles for actually just over 3 years as of the start of this month. I too suffer from imposter syndrome quite a lot, both in terms of puzzle making and my normal everyday career. So I can sympathize there. And yeah, I believe the idea for this stream sort of originated because I had a birthday puzzle featured on CTC last year, and I remember Malrog reaching out to me and saying, "Oh, my birthday is the same day." And then when the notion of SudokuCon and streaming for SudokuCon came around, Malrog suggested we do a joint streaming puzzle to celebrate our birthdays. So here we are. Thank you everyone for joining, swinging by and joining. And I guess before we get into actual setting, just a bit about SudokuCon is you can see in the Twitch stream a bit of information about it, but this is the official Twitch channel for SudokuCon, which is going to be held in a little under a year in Boston, Massachusetts. I certainly hope to be there for it, and I'm already looking forward to it. So I'm quite honored to kick off this inaugural stream of setting and such.
Yeah, it's quite the privilege. Hopefully we'll set the bar not too high so others can follow quite happily.
Yes, well, let's not put too much pressure on ourselves here.
Yeah, or on anyone else.
Yeah.
So I think we talked first about our kind of mindset with this puzzle. We've thrown around various ideas. I remember sending you a big long list of possible things we could do based on the fact that there's two of us having a birthday on the same day. So we could do things with like as wild as a pair doku or a something that was a doppel puzzle was and what else? There was a few different ideas. Something with doublers in because there's two of us.
I will fully confess that Malrog, when it came to ideas, Malrog was very rife with many of them, and I was just kind of like, any of those sound fine to me. So one of the biggest struggles I have often when it comes to setting is like actually thinking of just a base idea for a puzzle. So it's actually quite nice to have somebody with a lot of ideas to start with. And I think in the end, we kind of came up with something of a hybrid because both of us said we didn't want something. We wanted the puzzle to have a twist. We didn't want it to be just standard constraints without any extra dimension to them. And I guess the point of the stream, how it's going to work is you can see both of our screens. So you can see my screen here on the bottom right. Hopefully it's highlighting in blue as I go around. Malrog is on the top left. So this gives us room to play around with our own grids and our own puzzles while we converse at the same time. And in addition to trying to set this puzzle, we're also going to get into some sort of discussion of philosophies of setting, I guess, and our approaches to setting. But given that Malrog, I think, had the key idea for this puzzle, I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'm going to let him give a description.
Okay, well, yeah. So our birthday is the 25th of April. Let me turn off True Candidates for a second. 25th of April, 254 or 425, depending on your location. And so we thought about doing something with those digits. And then because there's two of us, we thought, what if every instance of those digits counted double value for the clue it was on? And we quite like that idea. We like the idea of what that could be like for things like whispers. Though it was a bit brain melty, I think, but it could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But so I think that was the genesis of it, wasn't it? That was the root of the idea.
Yeah, and I think even just something like when we first saw the idea, of Malrog pointed out that having 2, 4, and 5 as doubled values mean you have, instead of having 5 odds and 4 evens, you now have 5 evens and 4 odds, which immediately jumped out to me as something quite interesting and fun that could be played with. The other aspect, though, as Malrog pointed out, though, is that ultimately we might need something to be able to disambiguate, because if you have a 4 that's now an 8, then you need something to be able to disambiguate what's the 4 and what's the 8. And so actually, I think it was this morning we were talking about that, and we had the idea, and this is what we're going to start with, and then probably end up being crazy and giving up right away. But I just recently, actually this last week, set a counting circles puzzle. So I said, oh, well, what if we have it where the 2 2s are doubled, 4 4s are doubled, and 5 5s are doubled? Which we both went, wow, that would be really cool. And then we were like, well, are we actually going to be able to do this in any sort of convenient amount of time? And I think Owen Afraid Not is arguing the only correct way to write dates is year, month, and day.
I agree.
Yeah, I guess. I'm not going to get into this argument. I unfortunately have the best of both worlds, being British living in America, and that I often forget. Which way around I'm supposed to be doing it at any one time. But anyway, so yes, back to the puzzle. That is what we're going to start off with, the idea of having 2 2s, 4 4s, and 5 5s in the puzzle are going to be doubled. Now, this is a point where we sit with a completely blank grid and say, well, how the hell are we going to actually start this puzzle? So I'm open to any thoughts you have, Malrog.
Well, I think the type of constraint that possibly is the best to use here is killer.
Yeah, killer definitely, I think, has some advantages to it. It's going to... it probably will be a little...
I think it's worth talking about like the various constraints we sort of talked about when we talked about doubling these values, just like globally doubling them rather than having like 2 2s, 4 4s, and 5 5s. And we talked about Renban as a possibility, because when you've let me put this in the grid. When you double all the 2s, all the 4s, and all the 5s, then you end up with 1, a 4, a 3, an 8, a 10, which I can't put in this interface, a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9. And so you don't have a 2 and you don't have a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so Renbans become really restricted really quickly. You actually end up not being able to have very much in there at all. So we quickly threw out that idea.
Yeah,
Although,
basically, if you have a 4-cell Renban, it's forced automatically.
however, if only two twos, four fours, and five fives are doubled, then perhaps
Yes,
Renban becomes a much more interesting prospect
that is
because
true.
of its because when you have a long Renban, you know that there must be a undoubled value on there. You're almost searching for the undoubled values then.
Yeah, which is interesting. I like that as an idea, and you only just pointing that out now. I didn't even realize that. But yeah,
I literally thought of it myself. Hey, live setting, everyone.
um, so Renbans was one thing, then Whispers was another, because we realized that having a 5, you now have a 10. So that actually means you could put a 5 on a Whisper. 4 could go next to a 9 and a 10, could go next to a 5 and a 9. And one of the things I like, if you're going to have some sort of modifier, and I think this kind of, when Zeta and I did the first Topsy-Turvy with the doublers in between lines, I like, if you're going to do that, that it messes with people's minds when it comes to the actual constraint. So, of course, on CTC all the time, when it comes to Whispers, the rules are like you can never have a 5 on, and you alternate polarity. Now, the alternating polarity, I think we decided would hold pretty true, right? But it does mess with the
Yes.
minds of 4 can go next to 2 digits, and 5 can actually go on the line.
Yes.
But I think Whispers also, by their nature, are somewhat a little unrestricted, and you still need something else to be able to actually disambiguate as well. So I think after that, the next one we thought about was arrows, right?
Yeah, I mean, arrows and killer have a lot of overlap. Arrows, I mean, they are. It'd be fun to have an arrow that sums to 10.
Yes.
It would be fun to have an arrow with a 2 on it, a 2 and a 4 on it. Hang on, a 2 and a 4, that would be too much. That would be 12.
Yeah, that'd be 12.
But
Yeah.
but to an arrow with two twos on it that sums to 8.
Tracy, no, every number won't be doubled because our birthday is the 25th of April, so 25 4 or 425. We're planning to double just certain digits in the grid, the 2s, the 4s, and the 5s, and potentially just a limited number of 2s, 4s, and 5s. I think the other thing, though, that was an instinct for both of us when it came to arrows is that they're both that it might end up being an inherently mathy puzzle that way.
Yeah, I'm a
And
big
I
fan of
think,
geometry, so if we can get geometry in there, I like that.
yeah, I don't mind mathy deductions, but believe it or not, they're usually not the first thing I go for. I'm very much like you. I do like geometry. And you'll see in a lot of my puzzles, actually, so this sort of thing where you might have a killer cage where this cell sees the whole of the killer cage, or even with things like, let me see, Renban. So, I mean, I'm sure many are familiar with the what Zeta calls the Tallcat shape, where
Yeah.
you have these two cells, because they can't repeat on the Renban, I think they end up down here, and you place digits over here, it messes with everything, etc. So I do like that sort of thing much more than Mathia stuff. And having said that, I think now a lot of people are going to see geometry where it might not be intended in my puzzles, but oh well.
Yeah. I
So
think we need to just pick a constraint and start. Well, I mean, we need. Then there is maths involved, but by virtue
yes.
of the doubling. So
Right. But I do like your idea about Renbans.
yeah,
That's
me
kind of
too.
stuck in my head now.
Yeah, me too. Because we kind of dismissed Renban as being unusable in this situation, but if we are only doubling some of them, then Renban suddenly
Yes.
becomes a lot more interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you go
Now,
about starting a puzzle? Do you do you draw a shape and then see what happens with that shape, or do you? Yeah,
Yeah.
because I do that sometimes. I
Yes.
like, yeah. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who saw my setting video, I think, will see that like most of my puzzles just start like randomly drawing in a grid or
mm,
having a vague idea of logic and going from there. So,
yeah,
like I remember at one point I just drew, we're not going to do region sum, I don't think, but just drawing that and then not liking that because I'd seen it in other puzzles. So then going,
mm,
aha, let me do this. That looks slightly different, and I'm sure I could do something with it.
yeah.
Um,
The other constraint, which we briefly touched on, which again might be, which I think again we sort of dismissed as being far too restricted, was XSum. Now,
that is true.
I'm personally a big fan of XSum. Um, I don't know why,
I've
but I
set
do.
two exam puzzles,
Yeah.
and I like. Well, actually, I tell a lie. I've set two exam puzzles, and I've set an internal exams chaos construction, which will probably be the next puzzle I post on LMD.
Oh,
Um,
spoilers.
yeah, um, but the thing with exam, I always struggle into. I kind of feel that it's one of those things where you say, okay, well, I'm just going to go around every single exam, and I'm going to draw. I'm going to figure out what the initial thing could be.
Mm-hmm.
Now we do, of course. I mean, that does get thrown off a bit here.
It does.
I guess in some ways, Exums is kind of like doing a single. It's like drawing a killer cage in a vertical line
Yeah,
down a
it's
row
sort
or
of
a
a cross.
column.
I think of it as sort of halfway between arrows and cages, because you can have
Yeah.
sums up to cage size, but they are linear and you know where one of the elements is, sort of thing,
Hmm.
like in an arrow.
So one of the things that's possible actually with a killer cage is similar to with the Ren bands. We might be able to help somebody deduce that there's at least one double digit. If we draw a cage of a certain size. Because if
Yeah,
you recall what you told me, that having a doubled 2, a doubled 4, and a doubled 5 means that the secret, which is, as we all know, is typically 45, the
yeah,
sums of 1 to 9, now adds an extra 11, so it becomes 56.
yeah.
So,
But only when you have all three doubled.
right, but that could allow us to, say, draw like an 8-cell cage that sums to
Something big.
45,
45.
and
Yeah.
then you'd know it would have a double 2 in, or 47.
Yeah.
No, actually, no, an 8-cell cage just summing to 45 that would have a double digit in, because then it wouldn't matter which one it is,
Yeah.
right?
It would have at least one double digit in.
Yeah, it would have at least
You
one.
got to
Yeah,
start
but
thinking
anyway,
about the outies there. Yeah.
yeah, which then
Yeah.
also now makes me think of sandwich sums as well, but that's another constraint I don't
Yeah.
haven't set much with.
Yeah. I'm less keen on sandwiches
Yeah.
than
But I
X's.
guess the main, in terms of a philosophy, depending on how hard I think the puzzle is going to be, I always, if I think it's going to be a hard puzzle, I try and give something relatively easy to latch onto as a starting point.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So
Don't get me wrong. Sandwiches. I do like sandwiches. I just prefer X sums. Got
but
to
like,
know
so
beings
doing
have.
something like that, I think,
Right.
I mean, that's a
That's where
very
you can
standard
start.
shape I draw all the time. You probably, this is almost like the cat smile Mark II, because this shape has appeared so much in my puzzle.
Yeah.
Smiley face.
Tracy, that list of variants is, so we're setting in F puzzles. I should mention that, and we've got a few different scripts and things installed. And that list of variants that keeps flashing up is when we hover over the list of constraints. So there's a big old list there that you can see of all the different constraints that the solver understands. Now, of course, we're going to have to give our solver quite a bit of help in this situation, because
Yes.
the solver isn't going to understand our special rule about doubling 2s and 4s and 5s. So we're going to have to use some clever tricks if we want to use the solver probably to help us finish it off. Maybe at the end, we'll have to see how we get on. But that's what that is.
Yeah. So what tends to happen if we have special rules, I tend to just use given digits a lot more, take the conflicts off, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think
Microstudy makes a good point, an interesting point actually. If we've got a doubled 4 and an 8, can they both appear in the same cage because they have the same value? I'd say no, myself. Which would be an interesting one.
Oh, you mean like unique values can't repeat?
Yep.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. But then
we still need to disambiguate the 4 and the 8. But I guess we'll get there once we've run out of 4s.
Yeah. So yeah.
Still not 100%.
Okay, so I mean, see, my instinct is automatically to think of a given digit, because if we say did something like that, and you put a 4, then you know this would have to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But I guess the issue there is whether it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But also, I think we were going to try to avoid given digits if we could. And yeah, I kind of agree with you, microstudy.
That's fair. That's also fair.
Yeah, like you could have a 2-cell. So a 2-cell 16 cage would typically be 7, 9, but in this case you could have 5, 6. And that would also, but you could even have 4, 8 as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess so I think, yeah, usually the easiest way to, I think if we can come up with something that at least gives something to draw the eyes to, that we then can get more creative in how it develops from there. Yeah. That would kind of be. So I actually like that. I'm just going to think about like having a 16 cage, say, in a row. Now it could be 4, 8. What did we say? It could be 5, 6, or it could be 7, 9. And is there another cage that we could put opposite that might actually mess with that?
Well, an 18 cage would be 5, 8.
Yes, an 18 cage would be 5, 8 or 5, 4.
Or 5, 4, yeah.
But it would have a 5 in.
It would force the 16 to be 7, 9, I think. So it's a little bit too straightforward, perhaps.
Too straightforward, yeah. But I do like the idea of, again, it's that sort of thing, like just having something in the grid where you go, ooh, hang on a second, there's a 2-cell 18K.
I did wonder. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I don't know if you do the same, but oftentimes when I put something in, I almost imagine Simon's voice in my head.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'll put something there. Oftentimes I wonder how long it will take him to spot it.
Yes. Stormtrooper scanning.
I wondered, especially vertically, I wondered about using the secret, but globally. If there's some, almost I mean, I'm not saying we would use set necessarily, but if we know that, because I mean that's how all the circle puzzles work, right? They've got this global meta. So if we've got 2 2s, 4 4s, and 5 5s doubled, we know the total sum of all the digits in our puzzle.
Do you know what? Would you believe what the sum of 2 2s, 4 4s, and 5 5s is? It's 45.
Is it? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. 25 plus 16 plus 4 is 45.
Fascinating.
That's hilarious.
Oh, what can we do with that?
Oh god, jeez, that's that's so funny. 20, 25 plus, I keep having to double check it. 25 plus 16 plus 4, yes, is 45. So essentially we have an extra region of sum here, yes.
Yeah.
1045 cages, let's go. Oh, geez.
Well, overlapping cages. Well, extra regions then.
Oh, no, oh, God, yeah, how would that work? Well, yeah, okay, but 2 2s, 4 4s, and 5 5s is 11 digits. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's not like we'd have to have a 7. So if we had 1045 cages, that is, yeah, you'd need some cages with multiple doublers.
Yeah. Yeah, you're always going to have that, I think.
Man, oh God, that is a really good. See, who was I talking to the other day? And I said, it was Glipperl was solving Clover's Biddy Bites, and even in a 4x4, she had this beautiful global deduction, and I was like, that is amazing, and I would never be able to come up with that, because doing a global deduction for me is like really, really hard.
Yeah. I tend to go local, so setting something live on stream for the first time, maybe not the best option.
Yeah.
The smallest possible 45 cage, where you'd have a 5, which is actually 10.
Yes.
And then 35 is 98765. So that's a repeated 5 there.
Yes.
Would you allow repeats if one was doubled and one wasn't? Because they're different value.
No, I think I get too much mileage out of the digits can't repeat, and I think that allows for much more geometric implications.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like, I always like stuff. I always like this kind of stuff, or something like this, where you have, it forces one digit up here and down here, kind of thing. But I do. A 45 cage of 8 cells lets you know the doublers. Yeah, I was just wondering that, because if you had a 45 cell, if you took, would it, a 45 cage of lets you know the doublers? Well, okay, let's just do the time or tradition of just sticking it in and seeing what happens.
Yeah. So you'd need the 5.
5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that's 8.
It's so funny seeing how you're drawing your cage, because I was going to draw a cage all within one box like that.
Yeah, see, again, it's my
it's your geometry thing.
Yeah, I always like to think, well, how could we mess up with things geometrically?
Yeah, so
4,
5,
5,
9,
6,
8,
7, 8.
6, 4.
And if it was 45, yeah, so.
What's that? 10, 19. This is really messing with my head. How much do we want to hurt the solvers? 25, 35, 8 and 4. Well, no, that's 8 and 8 is 16. We're already bust there, aren't we?
Well, I guess so. If you had a double 8, that's 53. But I don't. Is it possible to have? I don't think it's possible. Is it? Oh no, you could take an 8 out and have a doubled 4. Yeah, I think. So you could have 1, 2, 3. Is that right? No, hang on.
Yeah, I mean, what I've got there is 51. So need to take out quite a bit.
2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and double 5. Right, but that's a 7-cell cage if we were wanting to do an 8-cell cage.
Yeah.
Double 4 and double 5.
Well, hang on. Let's think about the outies. If it's an 8-cell cage and we're not allowing repeated digits, it's just the outies, isn't it? So what's our secret? 56, is it?
56, 11, yeah.
So we can't do it with an 8-cell cage because you can't have 11 as an outie, a single cell. 50,
right,
yeah.
But GDC says if you double 2 and 5 and have 7 as an outie. So that would, let's see. That would be 1.
Sorry, I'm still half in the mindset of every 2, 4, and 5 is doubled, but yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. If that's not the case.
This is going to mess with everyone's head.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I almost need a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, different secrets.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we started thinking that they'd all be doubles, but then the issue I spotted this morning was that you need to disambiguate the 4 and the 8. And you'd have to use a given or add an extra rule to do that, which is fine. Don't mind givens myself. But then Talker had the rather insane idea. I am going to blame you for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Using, like, because he'd been setting circles puzzles, that we would have a restricted number of doubled digits. So 2 2s, 4 4s, and 5 5s would be doubled.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find the 11 doublers. That are, what are we doing? And so you can't have the doublers rule in there either, because, like, the doublers rule of they can't repeat in rows and columns and stuff, because yeah, you could have, Microstudies got a point. You could add a rule where doublers can't be adjacent or whatever, or you could only have one doubler in a cage or something like that.
So yeah, like, I just looking at, I mean, again, this is the random shape I drew. So like this sort of thing is like, because it forces some digit, does some coloring. Zeta would approve. And then you have the one digit that doesn't see the whole thing. This actually reminds me a bit, I don't know if you ever, there was a puzzle by Totally Normal Cat a couple of years ago, and it had something to do with killer cages, and you ended up with these outies, and that then affected something here, which then had a similar pattern, which then affected something here, and it just flowed very nicely from there.
That rings a bell, a very faint bell, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think part of the reason it would be good if we were to do something like this to keep it out of the so one issue I always have is, like, if you have a great break-in, it's very hard to know how to develop it if it's all confined to a box or a row. Yes. You almost have to do like another like with Topsy-Turvy, it's like we had a between line across here, and it's like, well, we need to do something where we had to go to a different point on the grid and do something. And so that's always something I try to be conscious of when I'm setting. But I think, we are still somewhat stuck with the idea of there can be no double 2, 4s, or 5s here. Are they doubled or are they not doubled? That kind of thing.
I feel like smaller cages are obviously more restricted. Like a 5 cage cannot have a doubler in it, for example. It's a really simple little thing, but you can. So I wonder whether there's something to do with the fact that, like, the majority of the 5s. Oh no, sorry, it can have a doubler, and it can be 2-1. Sorry, what was it? It can be 2-1.
But actually, maybe though.
I think you
What
can't have,
about
I think it
having
was a
a
6 cage you can't have.
one, 2, 4, 5.
With a doubler, I mean. You can't do
Yes, because
1-5, and you
double
can't do.
2, double 4. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
true.
it's a 6 cage you can't have.
So what about like looking at the kind of looking at the kind of shape that I have in the grid light now? What about having like 2 shorter cages like this pointing at it in some way?
Mm.
Because that would mean that this one sees the yellow and the red. So that would mean it has to be in here, and this one sees the yellow and the red. So it also has to be in here.
Yeah. And if they're
So,
all different digits, even better.
right. I mean, if they were all different digits, that might force this in some way.
Mm.
Or we could use this cage to try and force this. That means these are different or they are the same in some way.
Hmm.
This actually, I don't know. This has a bit of echoes of was it Clover had a killer cage puzzle? Is it Everest? I think.
Okay.
So. Librarian, I've got 2 computers set up. I've got my puzzles on this computer in front of me where the camera is, and that I've got the stream open on the left here, which is why I keep turning you keep seeing me turn to the left.
Today he is Tech Cat.
I don't know. I almost wasn't for a moment at the start. I love how Clover, when OBS decided to freak out, and Clover was like, "Oh, you're so cool-headed," and Malrog will tell you I was like frantically not cool-headed for at least a few minutes.
We got there. It was fine.
Yeah.
The old IT turn it off and on again does the trick. Okay.
So yeah, I think something like.
So I guess a quick question to put in here is: are we trying to restrict ourselves to a single constraint?
No, I mean, I think it would be good to have. I definitely don't think we should
Agreed.
restrict ourselves. Hi, Ezra. But I think, yeah, I mean that. So we could have a killer cage here, and we could do something like with
a Renban or something,
a 4-cell Renban or a 5-cell Renban or something like that,
or anti-night.
Ooh, no.
So okay,
just while let's think on that idea, but just to clarify my dislike of anti-night, and I don't know if you saw Malrog, I actually did solve your anti-night puzzle that you
did you with the
you
palindromes?
recommended to me. Okay. Yeah. So the reason I don't like anti-night is because I feel that you have, as a setter, you have very little control over the grid, and I think you can put 2 or 3 clues in, and then suddenly the whole grid resolves itself before you even know it. And I think unless you're very, very careful, you end up in a situation where it relies you to basically pencil mark every single cell until you find that one cell that sees all the digits, that's a naked single, by sheer dint of anti-night nonsense, that then the whole thing collapses. And I just hate that as a solver, because I don't tend to pencil mark very heavily as a solver. And so in preparing for the stream, Malrog and I had did a couple of test runs and some technical stuff, and he was telling me he had a palindrome anti-night.
Yes.
It's
called Jousting.
Puzzle, and recommended and I actually went and solved that, and it was nice actually, because it didn't. I felt it didn't rely too much on that kind of comes a point where it all just collapses because of this or that. So
yeah, I've never set another one. I'm not. I don't think I could manage to, but
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I personally don't mind anti-night, but I don't think it. I think it has to be used like anything in the right moment, the right time, with the right constraints, which is why I don't think it suits this puzzle.
Yes. I prefer, as a more global constraint, I prefer actually anti-king.
Hmm.
The couple of times I've used anti-king, actually, one of them I was like halfway through a puzzle and I realized I was going to have a lot of difficulty resolving pairs that I was getting. And I thought, oh, let me put anti-king and see what happens. And it actually miraculously didn't manage to break it and offered some neat deductions. And I was like, okay, and went from there. So, but anyway, back to a plot here.
Yes, right. So,
So yeah, and I'm like kind of stuck on this idea at the minute, but I'm certainly open to other potentials as well.
yeah, the row 4, column 4 is just quite interesting there,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it? It's
Yeah. So, and
what
I'm
if
desperately trying to avoid ripping off Totally Normal Cat by doing the same
what if there
page.
was a Renban? What if there was a Renban going red, green, yellow in box 1?
So they would potentially have to be consecutive.
It's all going to come down to that cage size, that cage total, isn't it?
Yes.
What this
Yeah.
means. So I think I need to do some number.
But actually, isn't there a let me think. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. This would be divisible by 3. Because any 3-cell Renban is divisible by 3 because it's x plus 2x plus 3x.
Yeah.
So that would be divisible by 3 as well.
Why?
Because 45
isn't.
actually no, if there were no doublers, this would be divisible by 3 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glyphor is true. The weird thing is that one of the colored cells in a pair could be double but not the other. So like this could be double, but actually isn't that quite limited? If you have, it would be very hard to have, like if you did say 1, 2, 3, the 2 couldn't be doubled.
Yeah.
If you did 2, 3, 4, neither the 2 nor the 4 could be doubled.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, no. 4, 5, 6, no. 5, 6, and then.
But 5, 8, 9 is valid.
Yes.
If the 5's doubled.
Right.
Yeah.
So that might be.
And so
is that something?
4, 7, 9.
That is true. Okay, now you just.
And basically a 2 instead of a 4. The problem is that you can just you're essentially swapping out.
Right. So I think you're right. I think it would all
8s.
depend on what this cage is.
Yeah, very much. Which is again coming back to needing to have some sort of killer calculator that does this stupid stuff within it. Which
okay, so
do we really want to, like, when setting, you kind of there was something great that I think it was Toganis said, that is like, I bifurcate so you don't have to, was one of his kind of thought processes when setting, and I kind of get that, and I like to think of that when I'm setting, but is there a risk here that if you bifurcate all the options and discover that a particular cage is super restricted, yada yada yada, the solver's going to have to do that same bifurcatory proof, aren't they? Really?
Right. So I think in that sense, your idea of and I did just realize we're going to have to, if we do use killer cages, we're going to have to use non-killer cage. We're just going to have to use cages
Cosmetic.
Rather than killer. But I like your idea of the notion of like, is there a cage that doesn't have, there is no way that it could have a doubler in? So two
No,
six cages, I think.
the largest it could be is obviously 6 cells,
Yeah.
and it would sum to, I guess, 45
No,
minus
I guess so. Like a
11.
2-cell cage, for example, like you said, 5 could be 2 and 1. 4 is obviously 1 and 3. But I think a 6 cage is 1, 2, 4, 5. And a 6 cage, so 2 6 cages are definitely 1, 2, 4, 5 without any doublers in.
Right, yes.
Um,
A 7 cage as well. Can't have a doubler in it. A 3-cell 7 cage is 1, 2, 4.
That's true. That's also good.
What
Now,
about 3-cell 8 cage? Can you do that with a... No, 1, 2, 3 would be a 3-cell 8 cage with a doubler.
that's hilarious. But it would still have a 1 in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that is the thing with doublers, is it's always increasing, isn't it? So you like a 3-cell 12, a 4-cell 12 cage is still going to have a 1 and a 2 that aren't doubled.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
So that's, I think, because I like the idea of having this cage being a large total, and like maybe having 2. So like if we said did a 7 and an 8 cage, so then that would have to be 1, 2, 4, and it wouldn't be doubled. So that at least is giving some information of, and we could always move it, like we could move it over here so it overlaps.
Yeah.
And then this would definitely have a 1 in.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was 1, 2, 5 or 1, 2, it could be 1, 2, 5 without a doubler. It could be 1, 3, 4
without a doubler,
or it could be 1, 2, 3
with a doubler.
But it would have a 2 or a 4 in as well. So then that would force a 1 into this cage and a 2 or a 3 in. So if this was a particularly large cage, we could then say, aha, well, it's now got a 1 and potentially an undoubled 2 in.
I like that.
So let's just say, like Turgenis would say, let's say it was 1, 2, 3 with a doubled in. Then you'd have a 1 and a 2 in. Now, if this was a huge cage, then that might restrict what's going on there.
Yeah.
And at least it sort of breaks in a bit gently, because then you say, okay, well, this is just set, right?
Yeah.
And this is not set. It's slightly different, but there's at least one rule that holds, which is that it has a 1 in. So that at least puts a 1 in here.
Yeah, it starts you off, and you realise that if there's a 1 in a, what is it? It's an 8-cell cage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think at least then it kind of, because I think that's something that's good to see. True Candidates is going nuts already.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be. Do you have the if you turn on the edit given pencil marks, then you can configure and control. It's top right solver settings. If you edit given pencil marks, then when you control and enter, you put in the red numbers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Seen that? And then those get used by True Candidates. So that's how you can force it. Obviously, it doesn't work if you want to put in a 10. They can't all be 1. You just have to choose one of the cells and make it a 1. Edit all the other cells in that box to not have a 1 in. So they'd all be from 2 to 9. That's kind of tips and tricks of the trade. But yeah, for what it's worth, the largest I think that you can make the 8-cell cage, if it's got a 1 in, is 45. Based on my quick Excel maths.
Oh, you have an Excel sheet? Oh,
I
good.
do.
That somebody has, because I'm not going to.
Yeah. I've literally, all I've done, and like talking about the setting process here and all that. Literally, all I've done is write the numbers 1 to 10 in an Excel sheet, and then I can just highlight different ones and see the total at the bottom. It saves typing it into calculator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Although that is 7 cells, so 8 cells can sum to 48.
That's the maximum?
With a 1 in it, yeah. I believe so. Oh, wait, hang on. It depends on whether we call a 4 and an 8. Can a doubled 4 exist in a cage with an 8? Are we allowing that?
I think we should be allowed to repeat sums but not digits.
Okay.
I think the doublers is going to mess people up enough without.
Yeah, that's fair.
See, one of the things I like about this sort of thing is that, I mean, if we could finagle it in a way that this doesn't even get resolved until we figure out that there needs to be a double 2 in it, like down the line.
Yeah, it's nice to come back and use something later on, isn't it? For sure.
Yeah, that's me being sadistic. Okay, so what did you say? 48?
No, so I may have. So if we're allowing the 4 doubled and the 8 in there as well.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 digits. 52.
52
is the basically it wouldn't have a 2 in it.
Okay.
But it would have everything else, every other digit in there, and the 4 and the 5 would be doubled.
Okay, yeah. 45 minus 2 plus. Okay.
Would put 2.
Now that would resolve that actually quite early.
But Emigrant says it would put a 2 in green, which is not possible because we've got a 1, 2, 4 in row 1.
Yes. Oh, that's actually a good point. The editing the pencil marks, because that would not be 2. Yes. So having the 1, 2, 4 puts a 2 in the cage, of course.
So with a 1 and a 2 in there, is the 2 doubled?
If we said yes.
If it was, then we're up to 53 now because we've removed the 3 and added a double 2.
Okay.
So 53 is the max sum, and it would put 3 in the corner.
So yeah, oh god, that would just be completely meme worthy.
Oh yes.
Right, but then 8 cage, no 3, but then it could be 1, 2, 5.
Yeah, without a double.
Without a double. So that might force things a bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We're looking at limits here, and then you kind of pare back slightly and see what you can do because talking setting, if you constrain things and constrict things too much, not only does it sort of simplifies the puzzle, it also restricts the setter, doesn't it? Because suddenly you don't have edges of the cloth to pull on.
Which I don't mind it too much sometimes at the start. I guess it depends on the type of break-in that I'm like. I think a characteristic of some of my earlier puzzles, and probably actually a couple of my later ones, is that you stare at it and go, where the hell am I supposed to grab onto here? And then you kind of slowly get a realization of where you want to grab onto. I think critical mass is probably the best one because it's like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And then you think of 1s and 9s, and then it kind of goes from there. But it's still, you end up staring at it going, well, what the hell? And I think sometimes, as I've gotten a bit better at setting or more into setting, I sometimes think it might be better to be a bit nicer. But actually, I didn't even think that we don't even need per se both cages here. because if we had a 7 cage, that does automatically force 1 and 2 into this cage.
Yeah, I mean the 7 cage. Let's quadruple check ourselves. Yeah, you can't have two twos in the same row. So yeah, it has to be a 1, 2, 4 undoubled.
Yeah. Because of the geometry of this cage, seeing all that, it does automatically force 1 and 2 into there.
Yeah. Can we use that with a Renban? Can we have a Renban coming out from there then that picks up some?
You mean
of those?
here, or do you mean at, like, say, the bottom here?
No, where am I? So coming out from here, for example, that's now a very low end Renban, as it were. Because it must have
you mean like having a 1 and a 2 on? I mean, that's presuming if we had a 1 down here, because that would force the 1 into this square.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Wouldn't it be fun if this ended up being a high Renban, and so it places 1 and 2 in these two cells? Yeah.
See, actually, so one thing I like about that, although I will say I don't always like overlapping things too much.
Okay.
But no, I don't think that's a bad idea, because if there's a way that we could get these digits are going to all be different, right? Are they all going to be? No, that could be yellow. I was going to say, like, if there's potential to have these being different digits, then that would impact that even more.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah. I was just trying to use a Renban and geometry to kind of pull to get a hook in, because with the cage shape as it is, there isn't really a way to kind of hook into box 1 anymore.
No,
without an overlap. True. So yeah.
But I don't hate that idea.
High praise. What if?
No, I mean, and it's also, I think that would be something that would be unexpected as well, because then you're like, well, hang on a second, this should be a 1 and a 2, and if you actually say, well, it ends up being high because if there's a 1 and 2 here, if we put something down here, then it would.
Yeah.
I see chat has been thoroughly out of inspiration here as well. So. But I don't think this is a bad. I feel like this might give something, because it does at least give information in that we check a 2 and a 4 off. Now, if we didn't have a 5 in this cage,
doubled or otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, actually, hang on a second. So this would have a 1, 2, and a 4 in automatically.
They could be in row. It could be in column 1 though, right?
Yes.
Well, one of them can be in row 3, column 1. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be like that. So yeah, what we're saying is 7, and if these were undoubled, there would be 3 digits summing to 7, and then you have 4 other digits.
Yeah.
If they were undoubled. So the minimum of 8 digits undoubled is 36, right?
Yeah.
And then if you doubled everything, but you didn't have the 9 in, that would be plus 11, it would be 47.
Yeah.
Micro is quiet quitting on you guys. um,
47. I love the idea of making this a 45 cage, just because
yeah,
for the memes and stuff. But also,
yeah.
so this is a way I sometimes set. It's not necessarily the most elegant, but you kind of throw something in and go, what does this produce? So what if it was a 45 cage? Is it too unrestricted?
Okay. If it was a 45 cage with 7 in, then you would need 7 undoubled. Then you would need 38. So would that mean 38 and 5 cells? Yeah, this is where I worry it might be getting a bit too mathy. But
Yeah,
I'm now actually warming to the idea of having the Renban here, because this is now significantly more restricted, because none of them can be 1, 2, and 4.
I see.
Which takes care of 2 of the doublers. So this would mean it could never have 45 kg has 6, 7, or 9 as LT with exactly 2 doublers.
Yeah.
But if there's a way then that we could force this in some way, i.e. the sum of the double digits in the cage.
That's for green. It would mean green is the sum of 2, 4, 5, right? The sum of the double digits in the cage.
Ah, okay, that's an interesting way of thinking of it.
I mean,
so yeah,
I believe it. I think I'm just trying to work out why. Green is the sum.
Well, basically, if this is 45 with yellow and red, then it means the top left corner apart from green is 45.
Yeah, I see.
So that means if you take out the doubled value, then that has to equal green. So if that was 45, say, with a doubled 2, so if you take off that 2, it would be 43, but that wouldn't work. I think it's right. You can't do it with a single doubler, because if that's 45, if you take out just a single doubled value, then you're left with the value, right? So if you have 45 with a doubled 4 and you take out, it's not a doubled 4, it's 41, then you need a 4.
Yeah. That makes
so
sense.
You need 2 doublers to be in the cage. So I think Jay is
That's
right.
a nice
This would have to be,
actually.
would mean it must have 2 doublers in the cage. And the sum, so if you had a 2 and a 4 doubled in the cage, then this would be 6. If you had a 2 and a 5, it would be 7. And if you had a 4 and a, so I think that would have to be 6, 7, or 9. I'm thinking that, and I got the same as GDC, so I think that's probably right.
That's a good sign.
Now one thing we know is we have a two doublers, a 2 and a 4 in here. So, and that if that limits, so then if we went back to your idea at least of having a Renban maybe at the top left.
Yeah, it puts 3 in the cage.
Yes, there's no way that 3 can be there. Hello, Naverio. And I actually think it puts. Oh, this might be.
Does it require?
No, because what I was going to say is, like, could you say 8, 9, 10? But if this was a 9 and you had an 8 and a doubled 5, that wouldn't work because that would mean you'd need a double 5 in the cage. Oh, it would if the 5 was here, but that would have to be the double 5. Of course, we're forgetting that they can be the double 5.
Excuse me.
But that actually is not a bad deduction as a whole, and I do like the idea of having the 45 cage.
Yeah, it's just entertaining, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'll notice perhaps on the stream I drew a stupid Renban shape.
Oh yeah.
Just wondering about grabbing that, making these digits down here not be red or yellow either. You can see, oops, here and here. They can't be, with that Renban shape, they can't be red or yellow.
They can't be red or yellow.
Because red and yellow are both on the Renban. Now obviously,
right.
Obviously this couldn't be. I'll put the colouring in just to match up, because yeah, I think we said we would try and keep the grid similar. There we go. Yeah, obviously this cell can't be yellow anyway, but now it can't be red either. Don't know that it gives much. Actually.
What about? I'm just thinking. Could do even a hat shape. It's going to be Tallcat's hat.
Because we had the thing. I liked the thought you had with the obviously your patented shape, but this could be yellow. If we can somehow make. Sorry, I'm moving my cursor, thinking you can see.
Yeah.
Thinking this.
No,
this
it's
cell
fine.
could be yellow.
I'm looking.
Oh, we can see my cursor. Hooray!
Yeah, I've got it on the. I've got it on the. So having this shape like this.
Yeah, and if we can somehow force this not to be yellow, and similarly this not to be red. I mean, I guess the easy way to do that is to extend it one line further. Now they can't. Now red and yellow can't be on there. It's a bit brute force.
Oh yeah. It is a little, and it puts a very long. I kind of worry that we're already with the Renban being so long that
it's probably broken.
People already. Are going to start losing their heads over it.
Yeah, it becomes much more of a focus, doesn't it? So if we go back to the numbers that we talked about with this, so we worked out
6, 7, and 9.
This has to be 6, 7, or 9.
Right.
And that there's exactly one of these is. Well, hang on. We talked about there being exactly 2 doublers in the cage.
Yes.
Is the other potential doubling digit in the cage, or must it not be?
Yeah, I think it would have to be. Yes, it will be, because let's remember every other digit in the box is in the cage.
Yeah.
So it would have to be.
Of course. Yeah. 8 digits.
Yeah,
of course. But it wouldn't be doubled.
No.
So if it was the 2, no, sorry. I'm going backwards. I'm getting it backwards. Never mind.
So we know the 2 and
if we could prove that it was a 2 that was doubled here, then that's one of our 2 2s doubled, or that is found, which could be valuable.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the Excel sheet and think about sums.
And if one of the 2s was doubled, then row 1, column 1 would be 6 or 7.
Right, because you'd need the 9 to get up to 45.
Yeah, because you would need the doublers to be 4 and 5 apart from the 9. I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, wow, it's been an hour and a quarter since we've been on stream,
Oh
and it's
boy,
yeah.
time flies.
I don't know. I mean, as I said to you earlier on message, I didn't think we would be able to set this in a couple of hours, but this is intriguing enough to me that I certainly am interested in keeping it going after. So
Yeah.
I guess one of the trouble with having something that is kind of focused like this is it does tend to draw your attention. And so I think we do need to try and okay, here's an idea then. Here's a thought. If we put a Renban at the bottom here.
Oh yeah. What does that do?
Doesn't that mean that it has to have a non-double digit on? Not necessarily. Because if it didn't have a non-double digit on, I was going to say it would be 6, 7, 8, 9, which would break row 1. But I think that does mean it has to have a double digit on.
No,
but I think
right. That's not correct because not all not all 2, 4, and 5 are doubled anymore.
Right, but that's correct. Yeah. What am I talking about?
It's the old thing.
I'm just or maybe even an arrow down here. Actually, that's not about. Maybe what about a 3-cell arrow?
Interesting idea.
Because then we know that would have to be 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 because it could be a double 5, perhaps. But I'm wondering if there's a way that might force. Because if we were able to get a 3, that would force this potentially to be 1. Double 4 equals 8. Oh yes, thank you for that.
It's like, where are the low digits? So 1 and 3 are quite powerful in this puzzle because
yes,
like they are low. They must be low. They're the only ones that must. So do you have to have a 1 on that arrow?
I think so.
Well, no, I mean, it could be 2, 3, 4, 9 without a doubler, right?
That's true.
Standard normal arrow stuff. I mean, if it was a 4-cell arrow, then you're definitely going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
Again, possibly a little on the nose.
Yeah, that's true. Or the other thing is we could revert to a killer cage again.
It does feel like the best option. What if we do the sort of the opposite? Because we know that 9, 8, and 7 aren't doubled.
Right. Oh, so you mean like have a high cage?
So if you had a 3-cell cage sum to 24, like normally that would be 987, but it might include 5s or 4s now.
What about a 3-cell 22 cage? Because now it can't be 6, 7, 9. But it could have a doubled 5 in.
I guess it could be 5, 8, 9, couldn't it, as well?
Right, it could be 5, 8, 9. Would it have to have a 9 in, though? No, because you could have 4, 5, 8.
With the double.
Yes.
4s and 5s, you can.
Or all 3 doubled, 2, 4, 5, is also 22. God damn it.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I like the idea of forcing a double in the cage. So like the 7 is sort of normal for the solver. They're used to a 3-cell 7 cage, and they'll take a moment and think, is it really only 1, 2, 4? Is there an option? And then they realize it's not. If we have a high
I like
cage, yeah.
I like your idea of 24 because you know what it has. It can't. It would be 789, or it could be 749.
Or it could it have a 5 in it? A doubled 5?
It could be 568. God damn it.
Yeah. So that's why I'm thinking push it up even further and kind of make it not entirely trivial, but if it has to have like, I mean, what if it's 26? Does that have to be a 7? Oh gosh, it doesn't. I was going to say 579 with a double 5, but you can have 5, 4, and 8, I think, as well with 2
5,
doubles.
4, and 8 is 8, 16, 26. Yes. But it would have to, it'd have to have a 5 in. But yeah, actually, that's not bad thinking though. If we can try and find a way to push it where.
So what's a hang on? So I was thinking 5, 7, 9. What about that 26? So what about what's the maximum? I guess it's 28. Sorry, 1098 is 27.
20, 10, 9, 8 is.
Oh, isn't that great? Yeah. Actually, a 27 cage is the maximum cage you can have, but it has 2 fills. Because you could have an 8 or a 4.
You still need a 5 and a 9, right?
You do. Yeah. You need the 9 and the 5, and then an 8 or a 4. But it's just funny that the maximum cage is actually still ambiguous.
But that does force. It means it has a 9 in though, right?
Yeah, and a double
Which
5.
Means that. Right, but that means we have one doubled 5 now, but it also means that we've found one of our doubled 2s. Because that takes 9 out of this cell.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, agreed.
Because if this is what, 579, sorry, what did you say, 589 or 549?
Yeah.
But there's definitely a 9 there, so none of those are 9.
Yeah.
So this now means that's not a 9 as well.
There's also part of me just likes the 7 and 27. I don't know why. It's got the same number in it. It's great. Yes, there's no 9 there. So there's definitely a double 2 in the 45 cage.
Yep. And there's definitely a doubled 5.
And a doubled 5 in the in the 27 cage.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so none of these are 5. Oh. So now actually that's quite restricted.
Now does our Renban look? Does the Renban have to be 3? Ooh. The 3-cell Renban in the corner then would have to be 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. And that actually resolves. Oh, that would give a triple in column 1, which then resolves the 27 cage.
Oh.
Like if we put a Renban in here.
Yeah, and then we find the double, the 4 is doubled as well as the 5. So we've got one of our 4s and one of our 5s.
Yeah. So then that would be a 1, 2, 3 triple left in the column.
Yeah. Which is something you could hook onto with the Renban or a cage, because they're low digits, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I actually quite like it. And this also now is 6, 7, 8, not 6, 7, 8. We have a 3, 5, 9 triple. So I actually like that because it does force 3, 5. It forces triples. It feels like progress. So I think that's one important thing that I think if you're going to give people toughish deductions that you have to be able to reward them. And I actually quite like that as a reward.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I'm all for it. It's a good start.
Oh, see, now I'm wondering with the 2 low digits if we could put an arrow in that cage that could maybe leave out somewhere.
If
Anyway.
we forced that 2 to be a doubled 2, then we found both of them. Like in those cells there.
Yes.
If one of those had to be a double 2, then we found both our double 2s. I don't know if we want to find them so early and take away part of the fun, but it might also be a bit
it might make our life easier.
Yeah, there's part of that.
But also, let's not remember, we know that one of red or a yellow, we know that one of those is an 8, so that does remove 1 8 from row 4, column 4. Let's not forget all our pencil marks very thoroughly.
Yeah, okay. There's the one disadvantage to setting. So we set in F puzzles mainly to use the solver, but one of the disadvantages we have in here versus something like Penpa is making notes in the grid. Being able to, especially in a puzzle like this where you're kind of going, oh, I want to mark that there's been a doubler, 2 doublers down here. Like, how do I do that? I mean, you can add cosmetic text, but it's a bit clunky to do. So you can add it in there, but yeah, it's not so straightforward.
Actually, what I'm going to do is highlight. I'm going to do maybe red and yellow for doublers there. So actually, this is progress though, because we have found one of each doubler. Woohoo!
Yeah.
3 down. How many to go? 8 to go. 9 to go. Is it?
I'm looking at the 359 at the top as well. 5 is a potential doubler. Maybe that's where we go, and we prove that that's a doubler. So we found another one of our 5 5s. Oh, I like the idea in chat. You could have a double 2 to 1 3 arrow to twist brains. Yes.
That's evil. I like it.
Put 9 on the arrow. Oh, there's an interesting idea. What about then? Here's an idea. Not double arrow. Regular arrows, please. Oops. Forget the syntax for these. Or even just like that. I mean, I'm not pushing for symmetry. I'm trying to like wean myself off it.
You and me both.
But there is a thing here where we could have the 2 1 3 arrow, or the 3 1 2 arrow in the on the left side, and then at the top you could have the 9 on the arrow with a 5 9 1.
Glitterall's all for symmetry.
I like it when it works. I just think it can be overly used to the detriment of the logic, basically.
Yeah, the other thing I'm a little resistant to about having the arrows how you've drawn them is I think column 1 and row 1 are very cluttered. And I kind of think it would be nice to maybe build off of those pencil marks in some way rather than use them directly.
Ooh. This sounds like
that's why I was suggesting
experienced setter talking. Do elaborate.
So I wonder if something, so something like this might not be the best, or something like, as an example, something like putting an arrow here where these are going to impact this, and because this is also limited as well, so we can automatically say, well, 1 and 2 and 3 are already out, so we have 6, 7, and 8, and then that's going to impact, I think, this. And the 4 and the 5 are already taken out of this, so we don't have to worry about faffing around with doubling here.
Yeah. And I was just quickly running the maths in my head there about could a 2 go in the circle, but no, it can't, because you can't do 1, 3.
Right.
Because of column 1.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, so that's like a good example. Like you couldn't put a double 2 here because that would mess up that. So now if we wanted to get even funkier, we could even do something like putting an arrow here like that, because then this puts geometry in play.
Ooh.
A bit as well. So that is going to end up here potentially. And I think the same restriction, like this can't be a 1 or a 2, it can't be a 3. Well, and it can't be a double 2 for the same reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was something. Or I mean, going back to your idea, now we know this is a 1, 2, 3. Having, I don't know if I want to put another clue actually though in here.
I guess the other this is a good time to talk about constraints and number of different constraints in a puzzle, because we've got killers, we've got a Renban, we're now talking about adding arrows. What's your feeling about multiple constraints in a puzzle?
I'm trying to think what the most number of constraints I put in a puzzle is, and I want to say it's probably like my Roggen puzzle, but I think just the nature of those is you kind of have to throw almost everything in.
I know I made...
In a normal... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I know I made a puzzle, definitely made a puzzle with 7 different constraints in. It was deliberately. It was deliberately 7, and they worked together. It was for the 7K pack. So 7 different constraints all working together. Anyway.
But yeah, I was going to say, like, I think I did one called, I had one that had killer cages, black dots, between lines. I think I had white dots, and I want to say it had diagonals in as well. Because that was kind of like a Windoku puzzle. I think it was called Spaces in Between. So I think that's like, what, 5 constraints? Yeah. And I think that's about as far as I would probably go.
Yeah.
I don't mind it too much, because in this case, if this was the only occurrence of the Renban, that wouldn't be too bad, but I think it would.
Yeah, I feel... I don't know. I've no rhyme or reason for it, but I always feel a little bad if if a particular constraint is only used once.
Yeah, and especially in a puzzle like this that is going to mess with this sort of thing, I kind of feel you want to do a bit more.
7. So apparently we're being told that row 7, column 2
is row 4, column 3.
Is row 4, column 3.
Oh, that is a really good spot, Jay. Yes, because it sees red in row 2, column 1. The row 7, column 2. Row 2, column 2. It sees the red digit in row 2, column 2. So it can't be in row 4, column 1.
Row 2, column 2.
Sorry, row 1, column 2. This is why I don't stream more often.
Sorry, just got confused. So because it sees the red digit there, it can't be the red digit.
Yes, so it would, and it can't go on its own arrow.
No, indeed.
Because it's not a double. So yeah, that would have to be there.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually
quite like that. It could still be yellow, actually.
It could still be yellow, but that actually now forces...
Well, it's either yellow. It's either yellow or green, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it's 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. Now we also know actually it does clear up some digits. We know that on the arrow 9 and 8 can't be on it.
Yep.
And we would have to, like Gerian, was it Gerian? No, GDC Sorry, getting my streams mixed up. Says there has to be a 1, a 2, and or a 3 on the arrow, because otherwise it would be 4, 5 undoubled, which would be a 9. Right? I think that's right.
Yeah. That is true.
Okay. So yeah, I think actually the nice things about, like you had said about the 1 and the 3 being the low digits, the 6 and the 7 and 8 can't be doubled. Huh.
Okay.
Oh, I'm just going to pour myself a glass of water.
Oh yeah.
Right back.
Yeah. Wow. It sounded like he's got some poker chips. While he's away, I would say if anyone in chat has questions about setting, then we're happy to kind of pick them up as we go and try and peel back the curtain on the art, as it were. I don't know. We call it an art. Is it all right to call setting an art?
I don't see why not.
The tool we're using, yeah. So F puzzles. It's you can actually see at the bottom. It's f-puzzles.com. It's a free website. There's a load of scripts you can install where you can do things like run a solver. Can't quite see it on the screen here, but you can run a solver on it. You can put in constraints that the solver understands, and yeah, if you're in the Discord, there's plenty of channels where people will help you out with getting set up with it. There are other setting tools as well. It's worth mentioning that there's something called Penpa, which doesn't have a solver built in, but does have a lot more flexibility. It's a little bit more of a learning curve for that one, I think, would be fair to say. But once you get your head around it, it's got most things you could want, except for a solver. So you have to trust your own logic a lot more. If I'm setting in Penpa, I will often use these. I will use the F puzzle solver with these forced pencil marks, like I'm doing here, to make sure I don't inadvertently break anything.
Yeah, I just set a puzzle in Penpa this week, just because of the nature of what I was doing, and you're very much right. It is a learning curve, but I do like the flexibility with the drawing and stuff. But yeah, I was doing setting everything by hand, going through it quite laboriously. And there is also, I think, is it Sudoku Lab is another one. I think there's also Sudoku Solver.
The Sudoku Maker is the new kid on the block, which does have a built-in solver to help you with your setting, and does allow you to put constraints in the grid. It's more flexible in terms of the cosmetics. You can do all sorts of pretty things with it. It doesn't have the big draw for me with F puzzles is this thing called True Candidates, which when you turn it on, it draws digits. It puts the digits and colours them, depending on how many solutions you'll get based on whether that digit is that value. So at the moment, everything's blue because there's not a lot of restriction in the grid. But when you get towards the end of the puzzle, you start seeing, well, for example, if I put an 8 in that cell, as we've previously discussed, an 8 in that cell breaks the puzzle. That's why it's red. Because if you put an 8 there, then yellow can't be 8, red can't be 8, and that's where 8 lives in this box. So it knows that, it's able to figure that out. And at the end, you start seeing cells where there are green digits. And what that means is if that cell is that value, then the puzzle is unique. Which is great, but don't use that to resolve your puzzle. They're just statistics. It just helps to finish off. Another quote that I'll attribute to Turganis, because he said it, not another Turganis quote, is that at the end of a puzzle, he often feels like he's curating rather than setting, and him saying that released me and gave me a lot more freedom, because I felt like I was doing it wrong at the end, where trying to finish a puzzle that I'd spent a while on, and it was just like, how do I get this to resolve completely? I can see that if I put this digit here or put this arrow here, it's going to be unique, and then and then you check that it solves nicely and everything's great. It's like, is that cheating, or is it legal to do this and all that? So the idea that you curate the puzzle at the end rather than set it, I found really useful.
I would say the first couple of puzzles I set, I think the first 2 puzzles, I think after that I got better, but the first 2 puzzles I set, I got about 3/4 of the way through them, and I was kind of like, I'm sort of done with these. Can they just resolve now? So I really I wasn't using true candidates because I didn't know what that was at the time, but it was much more of a thing of I was just looking for an arrow to plug in that was just going to cascade and do a lot. So I just kind of did that with no rhyme or reason because I was just sort of sick of them at the time. Right. Now I tend to have a little more patience, but
that is something that I think is underappreciated for setting, is patience. I have often found myself, you come up with a nice break in when you're having your toast or whatever, and you start setting a puzzle, and it's flowing along nicely, and you're using the idea of, this is where the setter is looking now, so we put clues there to keep them moving in that area. And you get towards the end and suddenly it just sort of grinds to a halt. I always find finishing my puzzles so much harder than starting them, which isn't a good sign for this one.
It's very, I actually think it was, I like what you said about keeping things sort of in the neighborhood of where the the solver is looking. And I want to say it was in Clover's setting video where she said about, if you want to make it really hard, then you just slap a clue over the other side of the grid and they're going to be focused over here on the left when you really want them to be looking in bottom left, when you want them to be looking in box 3. And that's how you're going to piss off a lot of solvers. So
that's artificial difficulty, that is.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you want it to at least feel fair. So
I mean, I'm half wondering about putting a symmetrical arrow, symmetrical across a diagonal, or what about?
Oh, you mean
just
like
up here,
up there?
Just because I'm in arrow mode. Just because symmetry, and we've got it so far. I mean, if it gives us something nice, then great. But if it doesn't,
well, we could actually slightly go off symmetry.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Because I mean, if you put the arrow circle 1 lower, we know at least that can't be. Or what I mean is, if you put the arrow circle 1 lower, just pointing straight to row 1, column 3.
I like that.
Sorry, row 3, column 1. I always get the rows. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Does that do? anything more?
Wasn't
Oh
sure.
yeah, and I also need to
How did
update
I
pencil marks. You're right.
turn that off? Wait, actually.
Or turn it around.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
wondering
that
about.
actually.
I was wondering about doing something where the arrow went the other way. Oops. Ooh. Like that.
Oh, actually,
No.
hang on a second. I just that sparked something. What if you do the same arrow but like this? So say.
Oh, because this again with the low digits in that box.
Right, and the geometry.
Yeah.
I think that doesn't that force the arrow to be 3, 5, or
Whoa!
9?
Apparently it's 9. I didn't mean to have true candidates on. Obviously, this is without understanding all about the doublers, so I will remove that now and turn off true candidates, because that is the problem with setting with true candidates.
Yes.
It's a little hasty, shall we say. But what does that mean? Yeah.
Yeah, so the minimum. Okay, so the arrow can't be 1 or 2 or 3. And it can't be a doubled 2. Could be a doubled 4, potentially. So that isn't one thing. That isn't something that I thought of right away. Could be 5, could be 6, 7, 8, or 9.
I mean,
But what can be on the
it's
arrow?
minimum
It
8,
can't.
isn't it?
Right,
The
which means
bulb
it
is
could be the
minimum 8.
doubled 4. Yeah.
Which means it must be here in the box as well. Which means it must be
No,
up
because
here.
it could be a doubled 4.
Oh, poo.
I realized that I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 plus 5, but it can't have a 9 on, right? It couldn't have an 8 on because
On
the
here.
maximum it could be is 10. So it's basically 8, 9, or 10.
Huh? Why
So
can't
it
it be
could.
double 5? Oh, well, yeah, obviously it's an arrow. Duh. That's a point that I didn't even think of. But yes, 5 on an arrow is not doubled. There you go. Big
See, we're
brain
tripping
moment.
ourselves up of our own rule.
Yeah.
But it does have to have a 3 on, right?
Yeah, definitely. So it's either 3-5, 3-6, or 3-7.
There is no combination that adds to 10. 3 and 7 add to 10, last I checked. So yeah, 3-5, 3-6, or 3-7. So it definitely has to have a 3 on. And it can't have an 8 on. So that actually does a bit of damage.
So this is either an 8, a 9, a 4, or a 5,
A 5.
bizarrely.
Yes.
In 3, 5, 9, 4, 5, 5, 8, 9. There's something going on here. So none of those are a 3. I need to turn off pencil mark editing.
I'm so mad I forgot about that. I forgot about the 4.
So it takes the 3 out of there.
Although,
hang on.
I'm wondering if we maybe shift the arrow sun into box 3 instead. The circle.
Into box 3. What? Like, hold on. What? Shift the whole arrow one cell to the right?
Yeah.
So that can't then be a 4.
I mean, I kind of feel it misses out on geometry options, unfortunately.
Let's keep plugging away at this actually for a moment, because
but I like that, and I like that it disrupts the symmetry.
see. Yeah, I think the earlier you disrupt the symmetry, the easier it is to do so.
If it's 5, 8, or 9, then row 2, column 1 is on the arrow. So it can't be 8.
Row 2, column 1 is on the arrow. Is it? Oh, because if that's 5, 8, or 9, then it's there. Yeah, because this cell is either in there or it's a 4. So the point is, if it's here, then it is...
It's in row 1, yeah.
Then it's not yellow, and so yellow is on the arrow.
I see. Gotcha.
But if yellow's on the arrow, then it can't be 8.
Oh, actually, that is an interesting point. Just in general, like looking at it the other way around. Yellow is in row 3.
Yeah, here somewhere.
In box 3. So yellow is either on the arrow or it's not on the arrow.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's yellow is not on the arrow, then the arrow is 4.
Yes, I see this. And if it is on the arrow, it's other two options. Yes, if it's either not on the arrow or it's on the arrow. Yes.
Thank you, Clever. just double checking. We just wanted to run it by you there.
So if yellow is there, and this is what we talk about bifurcating, so you don't have to. If yellow's there, that becomes a 4. Which is actually an 8, and this becomes a 3, 5.
Yes. And if it is on the arrow, but why? I don't understand why that means it's not 8 then.
Well, the arrow doesn't have an 8 on it, so yellow wouldn't be 8.
Yeah, if yellow is on the arrow, it wouldn't be 8. But why isn't yellow?
If 5, 8, or 9.
Oh, okay. Hang on. If it's 5, 8, or 9, never mind.
Yeah. You can't make 8 with yellow plus 3. Oh, of course, because it would be yellow plus 3, so it would be 9 or 10 as well. So this wouldn't be 8.
Right. Oh, the arrow wouldn't be 8.
The arrow bulb wouldn't be 8. So you've got 2 things not being 8 then.
Okay, so the arrow bulb is not 8.
Basically, if yellow is on the arrow, it's not 8, and so red is 8. But also, the bulb is not 8.
Okay. Sorry, that okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like that's getting close to something now.
Yeah. What if it's... No, it can't be that.
So yeah, I thought he was talking about yellow not being 8. Okay.
Yeah. Do we lose anything or gain anything if the arrow continues down into row 4?
Oh yeah, Jay. It's appreciated. Thank you. It's always. If it continues down into row 4.
Column 9. The geometry in box 3 is still the same, but you're adding an extra cell. So
then it wouldn't be a 4, right?
Couldn't be an 8 or
because
a 4.
3, 5, yeah. So actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea because it would stop it being a 4, which forces the geometry a little. Oh, that forces a. Oh, that places an 8, I think.
You're ahead of me, but I believe you.
Because if we do that...
Now this is minimum 9, isn't it? 3, 5, and 1.
Yes.
So this can't be 4 or 8. Whoops.
Which means it has to be 5, 9 in there. So that's which means that there's an 8 in row 2, in box 3.
Row 2, box 3.
Oh, hang on a second. No, wait, I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Because
5. If that's
5
5,
could
9.
go on the arrow.
Oh my goodness.
Ah,
Well, that's really fun. I love that.
that's yeah.
evil, but I love it. So 5, 5, 3, 2.
Yes. Oh, that was so close. Oh man,
Where's yellow though? Yeah.
that is true.
Then
Actually,
yellow
yes,
would be there.
yes. Actually, hang on a second. Yeah, if the arrow bulb was in row 3, column 9, then yellow would be on the arrow.
Oh, yellow that. Yeah. So this would be 3 and 6 or 3 and 7. Well, it couldn't be 3 and 7. It would have to be 3 and 6. Because 3 and 7 is too much.
Yeah, so
it would have to be 3 and 6 with a 1 there. And this would have to be a 5. But equally, 5 can repeat on its own arrow, which is hilarious.
if it breaks... That's right. Okay, that's a good point.
If the arrow circle is 9,
Niall
it
has
breaks
it.
3.
No place for yellow. Because if it's 9, then 9 would have to go row 3, column 9. And then yellow would have to be 3, 6 with a 1.
Which is broken.
That's a good way of looking at it. 7 can't be on the arrow. No. Yeah, actually, I like that. That actually is not
7,
bad, and that's going to do
7.
a lot.
Yeah, 7 can't be on the arrow.
Now, that doesn't rule out that 5 still can't repeat on the arrow.
So if that's 9, which I love, I think that's hilarious. So if that's 9, then things break because that becomes 9, and then we end up with 3 and 6 here minimum because yellow has to be on there. So we get a 5, which must be doubled.
Yeah. Yes. So we've had our second doubled.
There you go.
5. Oh, and I'm sure, is it Microstudy loves the 5 dance, or is it the 8 dance? I don't know.
I think Microstudy loves the 5.
So those 3 cells are a yellow bulb. Oh, actually, I should. Okay, so it's 3, 5 or 3, 6 with a 1, 2. But we have a 6, 7, 8, 9 quad in the row now. In row 2.
Oh, yeah. Only those 5.
Oh, the conflict's not going to like that. Do that.
Yellow bulb 3 triple.
And that places a 5 in row 1.
And that's 1 or 2 only. 5 in row. Oh, of course it does. Yes. Oops. There you go. 5. You're not 5 in either mode. I don't know why I still have this mode in. Now I'm placing given digits here in this solve.
Yeah, so am I.
If we ever come to the point where we are putting in actual given digits, then they will need to be marked appropriately. Now, did we say the 5 in the 45 cage was or was not doubled?
It might be.
It might
we don't
be doubled.
know.
We didn't know. We know the 2 is, but we don't know if the 5 is.
Yes.
It depends on the value of green.
Exactly. Which I'm okay with actually hanging on to as long as possible.
So, there's no 5s there, obviously. Oops, that's the wrong thing.
So that actually takes a 5 off the arrow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we've got a 6.
What is this arrow down to?
Oh, hang on a second. That Does that place a 9 in box 1 as well? Yes, it
Looks
does.
like it.
In row 3.
Why isn't this a 9? How did I
It
get
is a
it?
9.
No. Oh, I see. 9 in box 2 is in column 2.
Yeah,
I see. Box
exactly.
4, sorry. Okay, yeah, I see. So there is a 9 there. Shiny.
Okay. Wow. That was a great spot from, is it Null? Spotting that. I think I like that. That's blown open quite a bit. Oh, and now we have a 3 in row. Oh, we can just take 3 in row 3 in box 1.
Yeah.
Sorry, in row 2 in box 1.
If this digit on the in row 4 column 9 is a 2, then it's not doubled.
Right. That is accurate statement.
Yes, important fact. It'd be lovely to get another 1, 2, 4 type cell in column 9, and then you get a triple in there.
Yep. So just to note, it's, I know we've been going a couple of hours. I'm happy to keep going for a little longer, but of course you're 5 hours ahead of me. So
Yeah, I'm all right to keep going for a bit longer, for sure.
Yeah.
We're making progress. It feels like at the moment with this, which is nice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, by the way.
I'm very happy. So we have a doubled 2, and I'm now wondering if.
Yeah.
So I like what the arrows have done so far. I'm wondering if we can get some Renban action in here again.
Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking we should have some.
It's like we have the same birthday or something.
Yeah. I keep coming back to row 4, column 4 being interesting. Oh, wouldn't that be hilarious?
What?
I just realised something really stupid. Row 4, column 4 can't be an 8. So it has to be a 5. A doubled 5, in fact.
Or a doubled 4.
Or a double 4. Oh gosh, yes. What a stupid little Renban that is. I love it.
That would be hilarious, yeah.
Something to hold on to, I think, as an idea.
Actually, no. But the thing is that would not be available until we just got that 9.
Yeah. Oh, indeed.
Which I kind of
You like it?
I kind of like that. I just love it. Yeah. It's so funny. I love it.
Let's go with it then. Let's put it in.
Yeah, I think we need to put it in. I'm sorry, anything that just makes you laugh like that, I'm thinking. But it's it's going to be a double digit, whatever it is.
Indeed. Pink. Pink is my double color. I don't know why.
Now how can we do?
It's horrible against the Renban. I do apologize, everybody. Maybe I'll just go with blue instead. There we go. 4, 5.
Yeah, I definitely think we should just keep that in just for kicks and giggles, as they would say.
I mean, I mean, you could extend it further, and then you'd have a 4-5 pair in that box.
No, but then if you extend it further, you're going to bring in the 8s, and you're going to bring in.
Oh yeah, you are, aren't you? Yeah. Boo. Let's not do that then. Leave it like that. So stupid.
It is funny actually though, because I wasn't when I was thinking of the Renban, I was thinking of drawing something like more round like this. But I think that is funny, just funny. Is there a way then we could maybe put like two 9 cages somewhere?
Oh, interesting. So my mind went to, can we force 5 out of those highlighted cells at the bottom? Because if 5 can't go in there with a killer cage or something, then this can't be 5.
Box 3 arrow doesn't have a 3 because of 3 in column 1.
Huh?
Wait.
Box 3 arrow?
Doesn't have a 3. You mean the box 4 arrow, Jay?
Right, yeah.
That's a good point. I had missed that.
So there's no 3 there because there's a 3 there. I just got too excited by my Renban. So what does that mean?
Do you know what is nuts about that arrow? You could have an 8 arrow that's 2-4, that's double 2 and non-double 4.
I love it.
But yeah, so the 6 would have to be 2-4. The 7 could not be 2-5, would have to be 1-6.
Yeah.
And the 8 could be
options.
2-4, 2-6, 1-7. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not quite. When he said there couldn't be a 3 on the box 3 arrow, I was about ready to have a heart attack.
Yeah, same. All good though. All
goodness.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, something like that. I think something like that is kind of where I would lean. I guess because we did the pointing thing up here, I would kind of lean to doing a pointing thing here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not averse to an idea like that.
Yeah. Well, why don't you have a play with your idea? I'll play with mine, and we'll meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out how to force a 5 off these cells. The killer cage seems like the obvious way to do it. And by symmetry, you could then introduce a killer cage over here if we wanted to. So let's try a cage.
9.
The problem with 5 is it can be relatively small or relatively large. Well, very large.
Yeah.
So anything I place there, any digit, unless it's a very low value.
I was thinking of a 2 or 3 cell cage, but I'm wondering because if I did that, I mean, it could be 1-8. I'm wondering if it can't be 4-5. Oh, but it could. That's annoying. It could be doubled 2-5. No, that might not work. Might be too restricted. Only way to totally rule out in 3 cell cages total 6 or 7. Yeah. I wasn't quite looking to totally rule out though.
Yeah.
Immigrant. I was wanting some flexibility, but
I think that's in reference to my 3 cell cage.
Oh, gotcha.
Which, to rule out the 5, because 5 is actually really, really flexible, because it can be a 5 or a 10. So you can put it in most cages.
Okay, fair enough.
So perhaps not that then. There's not a lot of restriction in this column. There's a 3-9 at the top. They're very far apart, so a Renban isn't affected by that, really. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Yeah. Don't think.
Yeah, this is for me. This is always kind of the hardest part of setting a puzzle, when you have an opening that you like and you want to develop it further, and then it kind of sometimes it just takes a lot of productive staring.
Yeah.
Till you basically finally hit on something.
Oh. What about another Renban in the central box? Because without a 4 or a 5...
I was just thinking that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Brilliant.
That's hilarious.
Like, if you have some... I don't know what shape or length or anything like that, but you've got something in here, it can't have a 4 or a 5 on it. Well, one of 4 or 5 on it. So
I like the 002 covering for the 4 is a problem. Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. I was thinking potentially something like this, perhaps, because then it still sees the whole square,
but you get geometry.
It breaks us out of the central box a little.
Yeah, no, I'm all for that. Oh, what about an echo of the cage in box 1? Maybe that's too long, though.
But we could do something like this.
Yeah. How long is that one?
Where it's still 5 cells. And actually, one thing I like about something like that, because with this Renban, it does sort of...
Yeah.
This kind of is like the flip of the symmetry we're sort of looking for.
Yep. So when you have this shape of Renban, let's have a think. This cell is up here.
So Jay does make a point about a 5-cell Renban, is that you do need a 5 on it, whether it's doubled or not. Because if it's not doubled, it has a 5 on it if there's no doublers on it. But if it is doubled, it could be 6, 7, 8, 9, double
10,
5.
Yeah. Which is a little straightforward, perhaps.
Yeah. The one thing I don't like about that is I actually kind of wanted it to be a double 5, perhaps, because then it forces the 5 in here. Not that really does anything.
No, it's helpful to have some restriction somewhere or at some point. Kind of end up with it, don't we?
I mean, I don't dislike it. It kind of does. It sort of undercuts what you'd expect, because you kind of almost think, it's gonna be this issue and and then you go, wait, actually no, it doesn't matter. But if it can't have a 4 on, then doesn't that just force a whole Renban? Oh, actually, it forces a whole Renban as being 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but you don't know whether the 5 is doubled or not.
Or double 2.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about double 2. Okay, yes, you could have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whoops, never mind. Yeah, I mean, it's doing a diagonal one isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, just thinking about that.
Or we could just keep it simple and do that. I mean, that's like, I don't mind keeping it completely within. I just wonder if 2, 3. Oh, the thing that, do you know the thing that messes me up with something like a 4-cell Renban though? Like 2, 3, 5, and 6 is valid if the 2 is doubled.
Mm.
No, Glipperol, I think we're probably sticking with the same, like in the killer cages, we're probably sticking with the same rule that digits can't repeat.
Yeah.
I would guess, yeah.
Yeah. Lame.
Because otherwise, yeah. Oh, lame. Well, tell you what, you can make the version where the digits don't repeat, can repeat.
Mm. One, two, three, four. Does it remove? I'm wondering about a 1 on this. Like if you've got a 4-cell Renban, however it is that can see the 4-5.
Yeah.
If there's a 1 on it, it's completely, like, everything is forced. But does there? I guess I'm wondering if there has to be. This 1-2 is interesting. If we're like that.
Oh, you mean like a 3-cell Renban with a straight or a 4-cell?
Yeah, I'm given the 4th cell there, but if there's a 1 on this Renban, it's obviously it makes that be the same as that, which is probably fine actually. But it's geometry.
I mean, there is, because we have the 6, 7, and 8 in the 6, 7, and 8 in row 4 as well. I mean, there might be something there.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice to find out where the other one is. There's a red down here. Oh, green's like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird Renban shapes are us.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
What does that mean? Or possibly not that, but possibly like that or something, where we bring in the 6, 7, 8, so we know we're in that ballpark. Does that force? I know the 4's the problem.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking this couldn't be 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay, so I think it means none of these can be a 1, 2, or 3.
Does that force? It gets interesting in the column then.
It
like
does.
that for sure.
Because then you've got
double 2 acting as 4. Yes.
Yeah.
This is why if I think it goes back to what you had said earlier about if we could potentially pinpoint the double 2.
The second double 2, then we know. Yeah. Or maybe this is where it happens.
That's true.
Double 2 actually is a 4. And then there is a 5 on here, so that becomes the 4.
The other thing that just occurred to me is we could extend that Rembrandt into box 2, and that would force it. Like once you get that 9,
Yes.
you'd know it would be a double 4 and a double 5. But I kind of feel that's a bit of an easy way out. I don't know if I want to take that just yet.
I mean, you could extend it to there as well, to row 2, column 2 as well for the same idea.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And that will give you a double 4. And tell you the 5 is not a double 5 in the box because of the cage, 45 cage. It will give you the green one as well. It will give you a lot.
Say that again. Just go through that slowly for me.
Okay, if row 2, if the Rembrandt is extended, let's draw it. Do a Simon. Let's draw this in.
Oh, just draw a line.
4, which means the 5 is not doubled, and
I like that. I like
6.
that. I like that.
Yeah.
Because it relies on us getting the 9. It kind of goes back to your earlier idea about having a Rembrandt that's pulling something out of the box.
Yeah.
I like that. And it gives us yes.
It gives us green.
And it would tell us, yes, I think we should do that.
Alrighty. So that means that is now a 5 doubled and a 4 doubled.
And it gives us the 3 as well.
And the 3 in the box, which is not doubled.
Oh, actually, yeah, hang on. We might need to back up a little, though, just to be... Let's just go back because we need to take out the pencil mark of 4, 5.
Oh, yeah.
But it does still give us a lot, I think.
If it's true.
Yeah, so let's...
Oh, I drew a lot of weird Rembrandt shapes. I'm just reverting.
Yeah. I realized the same, so I'm just deleting it. So, okay, so we know that definitely would have to be a double 4, though, which resolves... It actually, yeah, that resolves quite a bit. 1, 2, that's not a 4. So we know there's a double 2 and a double 4. So that means that's a 6. And now we have a 7, 8 pair. That's not a 6, that's not the 6. Oh, yes, but then it's a 7, 8. There's a 7, 8. Oh, no, doesn't that? Yes, that's beautiful. That's right. Now we have a 7, 8 pair pointing at 4, column 4. So it can't be 7 or 8. So it has to be the double 5 still.
Oh, from here.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that's delightful.
Great.
That is delightful.
Oh, whew. That is gorgeous. And now there's a 4 on the arrow as well.
And that's a 7. No, a 5. Sorry. Oh, a 4 on the arrow. Oh, there's a 4 here. Oh, yes. Interesting.
So, if there's a 4 there, I don't think it can have a 1. Is that right?
No, it can't. You're right.
Not on the arrow, because it would either be 5 or 9.
Yeah, neither of which are allowed.
So it can't have a 1.
4 and 2 is
so that now we're so right, but we know that whatever is on the arrow is in row 3, column 1, because you have a hidden 1, 2, 3 triple in the box. So if that has to have a 2 on, right? So therefore we now have a 1, 3 pair, and so that resolves the 1 and the 2 as well.
What? You're gonna have to. Oh, have I missed something about these cells not being 1, 2, or 3?
Yeah, they're not 1, 2, or 3 because you have a 1 or 2.
Oh, it had to be a 1 or a 2. Of course. Yeah. I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Just a little behind. So yes, so this has to be 4-2.
Yes, it has to be 4-2, but we don't know if it's 6 or 8.
I love that.
Which I actually really quite like, yes.
Yeah. So that's a 2, and that's a 1. This is really quite fun. I'm enjoying this.
Well, that hummed along quite nicely, and now we have a 2-3 pair at the bottom of. I think, yeah, we have a 1, 6, 7, 8. You can tidy up box 7.
Oh, yeah. My pencil marks are all over the place because I sort of started off doing the wrong sorts.
Oh, and now yellow. Yeah, Jay is pointing out that this is now impacting box 3 because yellow is now not on the arrow because it's 7 or 8. That means 5 is on the arrow.
Oh, amazing. Yes, that's
which
great.
means it's 3-5 with a 2.
And that is 7 or 8 on the end.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, man, that was a brilliant idea to extend that rem band. That's done so much. I love it.
So it's so serendipitous, isn't it, when these sorts of things happen? Because I was like,
Yeah,
because you had the idea of putting it into row 2, column 4, and was like, yeah, you could do this, and then I just, what about the other way? And suddenly everything cascades. This is.
And we have 3. We've done 3 doubled 5s, 2 doubled 4s, and 1 doubled 2.
Yes, and I wonder who that someone will be, Jay. Probably Simon.
Yes. Yeah, we can hope. Ah, that's great. I like that. That's. Man. So now can we, I guess, revisit. Well, do we want to revisit the idea of a rem ban?
That's so funny. The solver can't cope. The givens are invalid because there's a 5 in it. And 4
yes.
on here. That I need to highlight blue because it's. Oh, and of course the 2 is doubled. There it is. Remember that.
Yep.
And this 2 is not doubled, actually.
Right.
I probably don't need my red colouring anymore, do I? I will.
But I like how that ping-ponged around a lot. Like making that a 4, doubled 4, gave it the 6. You got the 7-8 pair. That fed back onto the row 4, column 4. It just all felt very nice and natural and completely intended.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, nobody noticed, right?
No,
it's not like this is public on the internet or anything.
No one was watching, right?
Right, so let's compare our grids. Top boxes look about the same.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
All of that. A second.
Okay.
How did you remove 7 from row 4, column, whatever that is, 3?
Row 4, column 3. How did I remove 7? Oh, because that's where the arrow bulb is.
Oh, is it? Oh, yes, of course it is. I've even got that sort of marked, rather. This is the thing with, again, as I was mentioning earlier, with F puzzles. Like, not being able to mark this cell is this cell is sometimes a little awkward, or less easily able to do that.
So now, because we have a 2 and a 5 in row, I kind of want to revisit my idea of a 9 cage, potentially.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just see if that might do anything. Can take 5 out of pencil marks in row 4, and column 4 is the circle from column 2. Oh, he's referring to the arrow. Yeah.
Now what? When you're at this sort of mid-game stage in a puzzle, are you thinking about the end yet, or not?
At this point, I would say probably not, because I still feel like, I mean, I usually normally usually at this point, like I tend not to set with the whole pencil marks here, but I think for the visual for streaming, it's easier.
Yeah.
Usually at this point, I would probably back up and go through the initial steps as if I were solving it myself
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see what pencil marks I would have as a solver,
Yeah.
to kind of give me an idea what clue to place next. But yeah, I would probably not be thinking at this end, because the way it's looking at the minute, it's kind of going from like the top left sort of across the row, across the band, and down the stack.
Yeah.
And I'd be kind of thinking, how am I going to move it into this region of the puzzle?
Yeah.
And I think once we started getting a sense of that, so now I wonder if revisiting maybe a 4-cell Renban across box 5 might be a good idea. I don't know though, because I feel it, even with the 5s there, it's not too restricted. But that's kind of, from this point, that I'd be like thinking, how can we expand it out? And I think once I had a couple more clues in the grid,
Yeah.
and I got a sense of where it was going, then I probably would be thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's extreme, so it can be a good base for the next step. Yeah. I mean, the reason I was thinking about a 9 cage here is because I was trying to figure out if it had to have a 6, 7, 8, or 9 in, and that would give us like a quad in the row. But I don't know if it's, because it doesn't have to, because it could have a doubled 4 and a 1 still, which is very annoying.
It's hilarious.
Who came up with these rules? I mean, I need to have a word with them. But I wonder if we could do something here. We could maybe branch out from here. What about a 10 cage? Yeah, 10 cage couldn't have a doubled 4 in, that is true, but it could have a single 4 in. Oh yeah, a 10 cage couldn't have any double digits in. So it would have a 6, 7, 8, 9 in. But then that gives us 1, 3, 4. I don't know if that does anything great for us.
"12 cage can't have a double digit in either. Because if you double 4, you need another 4. And if you, 2 and 5 aren't there anyway.
This almost makes me want to plunk another 45
I was
cage
thinking
in the
exactly the same thing.
This
is hilarious. I was thinking, what about another big cage in here? I was thinking about mirroring or similarly mirroring, like that, like a W sort of thing.
Yeah, something like that, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What, calling it 45 again?
Yeah. But that would be different, very different geometry from the first. Or, I mean, we could directly, I mean, that would mess up because it couldn't have a 5 in it all. So we probably couldn't have 45 like that.
Yeah, probably not.
Man, yeah, some kind of big cage, I think, would be fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is tantalizing. That would be 43 if the same shape as the first. I do kind of want to use this 5 though in some way.
Yeah, very much, because that's sort of the last thing that we achieved, wasn't it? We got the 4 in box 1, and then the 7, 8. 4 gave us the 6, which gave us the 7, 8 pair, which gave us the 5.
Yeah. and it cascaded a lot, but I think it's just kind of feels like it's ripe for the plucking, as it were.
Yeah, that 5. I like this sweet shape cage as an idea, because this, if I just quickly highlight it, because this digit must be up here. And this digit
yes, and it's kind of the reverse of what we did. So that would mean the value of this cage, it would have every digit in apart from 5, right? Oh no, it could have a 5 in.
It could have a 5 in either of those. Either of those can be, well, must be in there.
Or there are 5, yeah.
So the question you might ask is, what if neither of these are the 5? So for example, this cell is here, and this cell is here. So there's therefore
so that would be
no 5
40,
in this box.
40, and if you had a doubled 2 and a doubled 4, that would be 46.
Yeah. So if it was a 45, then it must have a 5 in it, I suppose. In some fashion, like assuming the maths even works.
So if it had a 5 in, then it would be, would it not be the... So if it was 45, it would have to have a 5 in.
Yeah. Basically, if the total wasn't 42 or 46, then it would have to have a 5 in it, in one of these two cells.
So do we maybe want to make it 42 or 46? Because that would give us a less doubled 2.
I think making it a 42 or 46 doesn't mean there's no 5. Doesn't guarantee there's no 5. It might do. It just means it's now possible.
So let's say, okay, so let's just maybe plug in one of those values and see. We'll bifurcate so you don't have to.
Yeah. Let's try it.
So if you did 46 and said it had a 5 in it.
So maximum you can do is 56. No, with 8 cells it's 55. So you're talking about
getting rid of 9.
Getting rid of 9.
I'm trying to think of the better way of framing it.
So
it's 8 cages, so we know it's 8 cells, so we know it has to have one doubled cell in, right? At least. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
I think it's easier than we think, because our maximum for 8 cells is 55, right? Basically, every digit, all the doublers, and not a 1. So it's basically one off our magic number of 56. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I like the way Jay frames it, and I think this is how he framed it at the top as well.
Yeah.
That 46 means the doubler or doublers have to add to one more than the missing digit.
Oh.
So does that mean if the missing digit was a 9, we'd have to have a double 5?
Yeah. But
because then it would be 36 plus a double 5. So you can have a double 5 you can have a 5 in a 46 cage.
Can't miss a 9.
Why can't you miss a 9? Oh, wait, hang on. I'm getting that mixed up because I'm adding an extra double 5. It would be 36 plus 5, which is 41. So you can't miss a 9. Okay. Yes, it's the value of the doublers. Okay, I'm getting mixed up. So it's not. Yeah, I was 2, 4, and 5. So
6 and 5 is 11.
So 5 plus 4 plus 2 is 11. Okay. So
I think I prefer my way of seeing this. I'm
yeah,
sure.
could
I'm
you
sure.
explain it again?
I
I
will.
was
I
have.
will. I think the so the our secret number is 56, right?
Yeah.
That's if you've got all the doublers maximum
Mm-hmm.
value. So the maximum value of an 8-cell cage is 55, right? If you just take off the
Yes.
1.
Yes.
We're trying to get a number that's 9 less than that.
Yes.
So we have to put the 1 back in,
Yeah.
and so we have to take out the 10.
Right. Okay. Yes. Because I was going to say, couldn't we take out the 4 and but couldn't we just not double the 4 and 5 though?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it could still have a 5 in.
Yeah.
I think there's an idea here though that if we could force it so they didn't have a 5. I guess because we were saying, well, if it didn't have a 5, that's 30, that's 40.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we did 42 then, or 44, is it interesting that a double 2 in box 4 forces an 8 into the cage? A double 2 in box 4 forces an 8 into the cage.
Because you've got no more double 2s.
Ah, that is true. You can make the same shape as the other cage. Yeah, we can, but I kind of want to mess around a bit.
Mm.
I mean, if we did the same shape as the other cage, then it wouldn't have a 5 in, which would just force the double 2.
Slightly playing around a little with my cage shape.
Actually, yeah, maybe
And now
because I'm
this
now
can't be a
seeing that the
5.
2 might be forced.
So if there's a 5 in the cage, there's only one place for it.
Okay.
Whether that's beneficial or not, I don't know. It's less geometrically interesting because the wings, as they are, don't see any of the cells in box 5 that aren't in the cage. Oh, but you could change that.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, you could change that. By doing it, basically rotate your suite 90 degrees. So now this is over here.
Oh no, that means there can't be a 5 in. Oh no, there could be a 5 in.
And there's only, but it reduces it, so there's only one place where a 5 could go.
Yes.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, I think I'm more inclined to. I feel more inclined to avoid the same shape as the other cage.
Yeah.
I feel a bit more inclined, but I mean, we could.
Are we introducing a massive difficulty spike in our puzzle? I say massive, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
kind of
it does feel like
gears.
you've had this big achievement, and then it just kind of goes. Psst.
Yeah, unless it was something much more obvious, or maybe we just haven't found the obvious thing. Then maybe there is a cage and a thing that makes it more obvious.
Actually, hang on a second. With the 46 cage, doesn't there always have to be a double 2 in that? Because we said 56 was the max, and if we took the 1 out, that would be 55. So if we put the 1 back... Wait, hang on. Did I get the math wrong on that? Or maybe there's a number, maybe there's a number where we don't necessarily resolve if it's got a 5 in or not, but that we know that there's at least a double 2 in it. Yeah, it looks like from what people are saying, there's plenty of ways to do it.
Maybe we're going about this the wrong direction.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is part of setting, I suppose.
I don't want to. I was going to say we could do something with the cage shape where we know it has to have a 2 in, but
I mean,
yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5. No, a 7-cell cage that doesn't have a 5 in, for sure.
I am remembering what Glipral said, though, that if there's a double 2 in box 4, it would force an 8 into the cage.
It's a big if, though, isn't it?
What was the sweet shape that we had?
Yeah, that was one. There was that as well.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of a big cage, but I'm not. I feel like after some nice kind of, I sort of feel if we were going to do it, it's the sort of thing we maybe should have done a little sooner,
Yeah, and that's an interesting point to make, really, about when certain deductions happen in a solve and when shouldn't.
Yeah. Like kind of having something like this, I almost feel you would want to have the opposite deduction up here, over here. Like I've done that a few times. But I do feel that this is kind of the space where we should be playing. It's like, so it's 5:45 for me. So I'm willing to maybe go for another 15 if you're okay,
Yeah,
and then we can call it after 3 hours.
I think that sounds good.
I think we can then certainly pick up and finish this, because I think it's really cool so far.
Definitely got legs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be just a 7 killer cage without a 5 in. But 7, unfortunately, kind of is that extra. Unless we just said, you know what, screw it, and just did an 8-cell cage like that. But I think this actually breaks just purely by roping, because where do these... Oh, no, it wouldn't. Because these 2 would then go here, which would then end up here. Anyway, that's by the by.
Yeah.
If we moved away from, what would you? Well, you asked me what I would be thinking in terms of N. Like, what at this point, what usually is inspiration for you when you're kind of stuck?
That's a good question. Sometimes going away, coming back, helps.
That's true.
Sometimes just playing with the solver, which we don't quite have the freedom of this time around. Sort of you put a digit in, and or maybe the solver shows you that a particular cell is like, if digit X goes there, then it's really restricted. It like massively blows up the grid. It's like, why is that the case? Can I then work off that? Yeah, looking at Sudoku can be useful, but Sudoku in my Sudoku puzzle, it's a bit of a meme, but if people aren't expecting it, it can really
Yes.
trip people up. One of my first puzzles is a pure thermo puzzle that has actually lots of really long thermos in it. But it also has a skyscraper partway through, like not the variant type, but the deduction. It has a skyscraper in there. I didn't know that's what it was called at the time when I set the puzzle, but so yeah, there's a bit of a nasty Sudoku step in there, which disrupts the solve.
Yeah, I think I know. Like, I think with one of Zeta's puzzles, it has skyscrapers in, but basically that's what the opening is.
Yeah,
It is tough, especially in variant Sudoku. I think you kind of almost have to build that in at the beginning, unless it's something, like as brilliant as, say, like White Room by Philip Newman, where
yeah,
you just need that Y wing to resolve it. But then how else are you going to have it, because there's so few killer cages in the grid?
yeah.
So in terms of a kind of next step goal, I kind of like the idea. I feel we've done a lot now to set things in motion, and I think like trying to find a way to find the second two, I think would be good. Just
Yes.
either here, so that would become an 8, or somewhere over here by doing something to force what the second two is. I think that would be a good step.
So I'm having ideas about a couple of square cages.
Okay.
Noticing in particular that this one here has only one place for a 2, and only one place for, and they both only have one place for a 5.
Right.
Whether we can, because they're smaller cages, if you boost the totals up higher, like then
Right.
they might have to have.
Like we did with the 27 cage.
Yeah,
And
maybe
that's
if
not a bad idea, because it's like riffing on the same thing.
maybe if one of these is low and one of them's high, it causes some interesting interplay between the two.
Yeah, that is not a bad idea. I would say my instinct would be to like do something with the top right cage, a top right cage first, because
And this one.
just because the 2 is restricted.
Yes, absolutely. Like if we can prove that that's a double 2, then that makes quite a bit of difference to the rest of the grid. It also
But so
disambiguates this
7, 8,
arrow.
9 plus double 2. The only issue is that a double 2 can be a 4 as well,
Yeah,
which
yes.
is annoying.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad idea.
I mean, if it has to have a 4 in the cage as well, so a double 2 and a 4, which is 8, and then another 8. let's have the 8 in there as well, and the 9. So that's 2, 8, 16. 9 and 16 is 25. I'm sure there's hundreds of other ways of making 25, though.
Yeah.
Could force yellow not to be 8. That would mean the arrow is not double 2.
Yeah, she's saying the yellow green that's in row. If we
Oh
if
yeah,
we make
then
that to be,
that must be 6. Yeah, I see.
yeah. And I think both of us are saying like we don't necessarily like something that's overly mathy,
Yeah.
and that I think jumping from what we had to like it would have to be like really tightly restricted in some way, which I think we didn't have. Um,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I think at this point, I mean, I think this has been like great progress. I think we're probably at the point of beginning to feel a little, yeah, I really want there to be either this cage has a double two or this 6 forces the arrow to have a double two, but I don't think it's happening. Yeah.
I see.
I do like the idea of some kind of cage here. I mean, maybe having a smaller cage
Maybe. Yeah.
that could be like, we could keep some symmetry going on or mess with it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like that smaller cage wouldn't have a 2 in. So I don't
Yeah.
know if that gets us to a goal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool if, just to riff on Glipperal's point, if you had some sort of, maybe a cage there, for example, that either had to have a double 2 in or a 6. And so then you would know that the double 2 is either there or there.
Yeah.
Something along those lines would be quite good. Yeah. Like all done through one cage would be quite fun. And it's just a little tricky to do that off the 5 here.
Yeah. And God, that would be very.
What about an arrow? It could be a lot. I'm just thinking about some sort of.
Welcome back, Playmaker. We are in the last few minutes, but I really like. I think what I'm probably going to do after this is I will probably
Solve.
go back to the beginning and solve and see how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of from what my pencil marks would be.
It's
but
probably a good idea. I think after this I'll go and sleep.
Yes, because it is a little later for you than me.
Yeah.
But I mean, not right away. I think I'll probably walk away from it for a bit. But I really like some of where we've gone here.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually been a good. I mean, speaking for myself, I mean, we're in the last few minutes, so I guess we can kind of start wrapping things up. I feel like this has actually been a pretty good sort of equal parts contribution as well. I don't feel like either of us have particularly dominated or I feel like we've both had our good ideas incorporated in here.
Yeah, some of them accidental.
yes, but great and accidental.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
and I hope it's been useful to see the process of setting, because it doesn't necessarily get exposed so much. But some of the favorite streams I've watched have been setting streams where people have set together and talk about what they're doing. Yeah, because you learn, don't you? You learn from other people setting and how they're doing it.
No, absolutely. And half the time, I think there's a phrase of like, what is it? Success is like mostly is like something like 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration.
Yeah.
And I think for me, certainly, I feel that's true. It's very like the last puzzle I set. I kind of had the opening for it for God knows how long, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And then I was lying in bed one night and was like, "Hang on a second, what if this?" And then it went from there. So hopefully that will happen here. That
Yeah.
will one of us will. You'll wake up tomorrow morning and be like, "Aha, this would be a good move."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's. I think we both appreciate similar things in puzzles. I
Seems
mean,
like
it's
it.
kind of
Seems like it.
scary how we often keep having the same ideas.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I like how this is coming along, and hopefully hopefully in the next few days we'll be able to keep plugging away.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a deadline.
Yes, we do, but
Should be fine. Should be fine.
But yeah, is there any in the last couple of minutes? Again, just a reminder: this is a stream. This is the SudokuCon official channel. SudokuCon will be happening next April in Boston, and if you're interested in it, please do subscribe. Please come back. There will be future SudokuCon Twitch streams coming. There are a few things in the works, so remember to come back. And who knows, maybe after this one, Malrog and I will have another setting stream again. I've certainly enjoyed myself. This has been
Good.
fun.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate that you spent the time to do this with me, because it was me who had the original idea, and you could just have gone nah. But no, it's great to be able to kind of combine brains, because it's fun, isn't it? It's just fun to kind of think about this stuff together.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think we have the makings of a really good puzzle here. So yeah, I guess it's 1 minute to 6 for me, 1 minute to 11. I think Mark's video will be coming out shortly. But yeah, thanks to everyone in the chat who joined us.
Yeah, it's been super duper, and
it's a lot of fun. And yeah, hopefully we will see you soon.
Yeah, have a good one, everybody, and
have a good one.
stay safe. Bye.
All right, bye bye.